Hello, and on the episode today, I am super excited. Can't believe that I'm going to be in the same space sharing some energy with this incredible lady. Dawn Renee Bova is an internationally published artist, an international best-selling author. She is the host of the podcast Catch Some SoulShine, and she's an angel mom. You might not be familiar with her work if you're based in the UK, but that's one of the reasons that when I saw her come up in one of the groups that I'm on Facebook and started reading some of the posts she was sharing, there was something about the energy that was conveyed through her words and what she was saying that I just thought, actually, this is a lady I'd like to connect with. So, Dawn, tell me a bit about who you are and a bit about your story that's brought you to where you are today.
Okay. First of all, thanks for having me. I really appreciate it. I love your accent.
I love yours.
When we were chatting back and forth before we started the podcast, what really stood out to me is, and I think we all have this ability, is the fact that you take your story and flip it into, what can I do with this? And that's the same thing I do with my story. I know that you're passionate about organ donation, and I'm very passionate about recovery, the recovery community, living life to the fullest, because I have had I've experienced a lot of grief. I've lost a lot of very close people. My father died in a car accident when I was 20. And I thought that was the worst thing that could ever happen. And I was wrong. The worst, then I lost my son, Bradley, who was just a beautiful, bright light to an accidental overdose. And I thought, that's the worst thing that could ever happen to me. And then 2 years later, I lost I call him my adopted son. He's my son from another mother, Brian Beatty. And I just, why is this happening to me? Right? Why? And then last year, I lost my grandson at the babysitter's. He was almost 2.
Oh my
So an incredible amount of grief, right? But I really feel that it's important that I share that, not so that I can gain sympathy or anything like that, but so that I can show people, no matter what your life circumstances, you can live a joyful, wonderful, fulfilled life. And it doesn't mean that those things don't hurt, and you have to work through that, right? You have to work through that process, but you can get to the other side, and it's not, why did these things happen to me? I mean, we can ask the why, and we do, right? What if, why? We do that. But the important thing is, what am I going to do with this? What am I going to do with it? Am I going to let it destroy me? Am I going to let it define my happiness, my joy? Or am I going to use it to dig deep and find, solutions for happiness, joy, for serving other people?
Yes.
And I choose the latter, because I really do believe that every moment that we have here in this lifetime should be used to practice radical self-love. Because you can't love other people until you love yourself.
Absolutely.
It's just impossible. And I've learned slowing down is important. Taking time for myself is important. Doing things that I love. Meditation. Like, I have all these modalities that I use. And that is what catapulted me into the art world. After Brian, the second one, my second son died, I went to my sister's, who is a classically trained artist, and she said, "We're going to paint." And I said, "No way, I am not painting. I don't want to. I don't want anything to do with it. I just want to veg, right? Nope, we're going to paint." I got there, and of course, she had all the paint setting out on the table. She had the canvases, and we painted for 2-3 hours. And it was at that point that I realized how important creativity is, because that transported me from a place of grief and sorrow, a dark hole that you feel like you can't get out of, to a space of 2 to 3 hours where I was just free. I wasn't thinking about that. I was creating, and I felt really good. And I thought, I'm going to do more of this. And since then, I'm a nurse practitioner by trade. So I love science. I love reading about things. And I started reading about the neuroplasticity of the brain and creating these new pathways. And, you can do things. You can. There are tools out there to help you reach this destination of beauty.
No worries. No worries.
I have it on, whatever. Sorry. Anyway, you can reach these places of beauty, and it takes a little bit of practice, and sometimes it takes some guidance from other people. Honestly, that's the whole reason I decided to start the podcast, Catch Some SoulShine, because sometimes people can't see the way out, and they need a little bit of guidance, and they need, I call it an accountability buddy, right?
Totally.
When I try to exercise, which that's something I may need to focus on a little bit.
Join the club.
When I have that buddy system in place, I'm much more likely to get up in the morning and go somewhere and exercise than if it's just me. That's human nature. I mean, that's how we are. We're not designed to be alone. We're designed to be with other people. We're social animals. So the buddy system is imperative for me. So yeah, I started that podcast. My art, this is, right there. That's one that I did that I love. It just represents, like I explain my art to people. This one represents the light. And one phrase that I like to use is, the light at the end of the tunnel is not the illusion. The tunnel is.
Interesting.
The light is all around us, right? We just have to be willing to see it. And sometimes that takes a lot of work.
Yes, totally. And it's interesting. This idea, first of all, of the slowing down. Tell me a bit about that and how that was a factor in your life and in this recovery journey.
Yeah. So I'm a go person. I really am. I have a lot of spinning plates. And after Bradley, my son, died, I threw myself into service work. I mean, I worked full time and then I did service work all the time. And I did get a lot of fulfillment out of that. But looking back, I realize the reason I did so much service work is because it was so hard to sit still
Yeah,
in that pain. It was just
totally.
too hard. So that worked for me for a while, right? I mean, it worked for me for a while. And then I dove deeper and I realized, there's no way around this pain. The only way is through. So I had to work through the pain. And I realized that service, although I do believe in service work and I do believe that it's really important, self-love, self-care, rest is definitely important too. And I was neglecting that.
Yeah, and it seems that in life, if you lose the ability or struggle with self-love or self-care, that is detrimental to the relationships that you're able to form with others. And also, I would imagine, actually, as part of the grief journey, actually being able to say, in the same way that an ill person says, actually, my body says I need a nap, actually being able to say to yourself, actually, yes, this service work is very important to me, but I need time to do what I need to do to feel just a bit more in control. And for you, what sort of things helped with the self-care and the self-love? Was it affirmations? Was it baths, walks in the countryside? what was
So painting has been very instrumental in my healing. And, I paint and I'm learning new painting techniques. I'm learning portraits right now.
fabulous?
And it just makes me sit still
Mm.
and do something that I enjoy. So I started doing that. And then, yes, walking in nature is really therapeutic, or just sitting still and reading. I get up in the morning and I have a journal that I write in.
Fantastic.
I have, and there's a writing technique called conscious stream of writing or futuristic writing. And instead of using your journal as like a trash bin where you just write all that stuff out, you write about your future self.
Wow. Fantastic.
I wrote that I am an author before I was an author. And I couldn't even think big enough to think, oh, you're going to be an international best-selling author. But, just by doing that futuristic writing and planting those seeds, it happens. It really does. And then I also wrote that I'm going to be a very successful artist. And I started selling this artwork.
Brilliant.
And I don't know why I should be surprised about this because I know that it works.
Yeah.
But those are things that I do,
Yeah.
And meditation. I listen to a lot of different YouTube people. Wayne Dyer, I love him. Abraham Hicks is really good.
Fantastic.
And, they all talk about the importance of meditation. So I used to do a lot of guided meditation, and that can be very beneficial. And I have a friend that teaches guided imagery, but then I started doing empty the brain meditation. So any thought that would try to come into my head, and I still practice this, I have a fan or some type of white noise that I concentrate on. And if I get a thought in my mind, I try and push it out. And then another one will come and I try and push it out. All I want is an open space.
Yes.
So that I can be open to receive.
Oh, I love that. Yeah.
And I'm practicing that more and more now. And I actually set my timer on my phone for 15 minutes. And I listen to this white noise. And then when the timer goes off, okay, I've done it. Just the act of doing, even if people say, I've tried it, it doesn't work. Well, you know what? You keep trying. You just keep going. I know we spoke earlier and you said, like you had this feeling like at first, I wish I was dead. Why am I here? And I felt that too. I really connected to you when you said that, because I felt that too. When Brad died, I wish it would have been me.
Yeah.
At that time, it was like, why? Why him? Why not me? And then I went through it again and again. And meditation helps push those thoughts out and say, okay, I'm a radio receiver, right? Yeah. I receive things. I don't want to receive those things. So it's not why, it's okay, what am I going to do with this? Totally. We all have a finite amount of time here on earth in these bodies. What are we going to do with it?
Yeah.
So, it's honorable that you are spending your time promoting organ donation. And, I don't want to have regret, and I don't have regret. When Brad died, I was in such a state of shock that I just wanted him home. He was several states away in a recovery place. We thought it was a recovery place. And they asked about organ donation, and all I could think about was getting him home. And I said no. And after the fact, I thought, boy, I wish I would have done that. So when my grandson passed away, we really fought for organ donation for him.
Wow. Gosh. Well,
because it's such an important topic, and they're not using those body parts anymore. I feel like Brad and Brian and Willie and my dad and my stuff, they're here. Like, I can feel, like you were saying, I can feel their presence.
Totally.
I can. And like, certain things will happen. And I was like, oh my gosh, there they are. I feel. Thank you. Thank you for the sign. Thank you.
Car parking spaces. Grandma's really good at those.
Yeah.
But it's really interesting that you say about that moment when you lose someone, and from the sort of the way that I've kind of grown up, I know so well that loss, it happens, and it's just even if you thought it might have been coming, it's always like a big bang moment. And then for transplant coordinators to be trying to talk to families and say, well, actually, would you be, it's not a good time. It's never a good time. And my hope is that if over the next couple of years, I mean, we've got to a point now in the UK, we've got presumed consent. We've now got the problem of people saying, oh, well, doctors are going to let people die because, we want their organs, and all these silly little stories and things and like rubbishness. If children can grow up knowing about it, then actually conversations in the playground can happen that actually then lead the adults in the world who are looking after the children, who are parents and grandparents and aunts and uncles, to say, actually, this is something that we should be talking about. And when we have a situation where there is grief or loss and you have to kind of sit with it, I mean, I experienced massive survivor's guilt because I didn't know my organ donor. All I knew was that she was 21, she had brainstem death, her liver was split between me and another person. And as much as I was beyond grateful for this incredible gift, I also knew that her life had just been cut short, just gone. Mm-hmm. And from the minute I knew that I was taking on responsibility for part of her body, I was like, right, I'm going to live this life for two of us. And that's another reason why I've started this podcast, because I know that there are so many people out there who get a diagnosis of something that is technically incurable, or they're never going to get rid of the symptoms. And maybe sometimes part of the healing is that they will just live with it, and they'll live with it in a reduced way with a better quality of life. But in actual fact, there's a healing to be had on the emotional level. And that's where I think that writing and art can be so incredibly important. And you were saying that these books that you have, they're actually, is it correct, a sort of a conglomeration of really a number of people who had ideas and concepts about these practices. Do you want to tell me a bit about those?
The books?
Yeah.
The first book, Creative Life book, there were about 60 plus artists and when I say artists, I don't just mean drawing, painting artists. I mean writing, dancing, music, any type of art form. They shared tips and suggestions about how to increase creativity in your life, things that you can do for creativity. And, I read through it and I was like, oh my gosh, there's so many golden nuggets in this book. I love it. And, we just put it together, had some expectations. Oh yeah, we're going to become best-selling authors. And when it went out, it exploded. Like, it surpassed any dream, any imagination that I ever thought possible. Became number one in 5 countries, several categories on Amazon, and it was just it was really an out-of-body experience. It really was. And, my whole tip in that book is, I talked about how I do the writing. And I did like collage work. So I would paint something and then I would write all the way across it. And then I ripped the paper and I created these tree of lights with my collage as the branches. Wow. And so there's messages in my artwork, even though you can't read them, they're there. And, it puts an energetic connection in the art, and people can feel it. And it also helps you, release that energy in a positive way. So that was my tip for that book. And then Radical Self-Love came along and I was like, oh my gosh, I already have my story written, because when Brad passed away, someone reached out to me and said, I know this is strange, but ever since I was young, things come to me in my dreams, and I had a dream about Brad, and I think I should share it with you.
Whoa.
She shared the dream with me, and it's just, it was just a beautiful, I can picture him. I can picture him saying it. It was just so spot on that I was like, wow. So I wrote about it in the book, and it's almost like it was almost like a permission for me to let go and just really love myself.
Yes.
So that I can love others. And, one of the things that Brad, we were very close, and I don't know, he was doing so well, and, he was in an unsafe place, obviously. And, as human nature, like, we can say no to that piece of cake 17 times, but on the 18th time, we're going to have that piece of cake, right?
Totally. Yeah.
And one of his friends was struggling back home, and I was talking to him. This was probably right before he went into that halfway house. And and he was doing, and I said, I'm just so worried. I'm so worried that we're going to lose this person. And he said to me, Mom, I'm not cold-hearted, and I don't want you to take this the wrong way, but sometimes people have to die so that other people can live. And I'm going to tell you that my whole career, not immediately, but over these past 6 years since he's been gone, has shifted to I work in the recovery field and mental health. And I've helped countless people with their recovery. And those words come back to me from Brad. Because I was doing family practice before Brad passed away. And I shifted to, substance use disorder, recovery, mental health. And I think of his word, sometimes people have to die so that other people can live. And I guess really in the same token that goes for, the organ donation as well, and death really is an illusion, right? Because energy never dies, right? It just transforms into something different.
Yeah. And there's so much that we don't know and don't understand. And the number of people who've had experiences, and as we said, it's that feeling that actually when you lose someone, there's still so much of them that is still in existence around us. And with the art, do you use that at all with the recovery work you do, or is it more nurse practice things that you do in the recovery?
Not yet, but it is one of my goals to create some programs for using art primarily for recovery. I mean, there's a lot of talk therapy, which I think is wonderful, and I think it helps. But as I said, I mean, the research is clear that when we use creative techniques, it does create new pathways in the brain.
Totally.
And it bypasses those other pathways,
Yeah. Well, it's the neuroplasticity, isn't it? I mean, I think that a lot of the general public, well, sorry, this is a very broad assumption. We don't grow up knowing about the full potential of the brain, but we're blessed that now. I mean, even on BBC News yesterday, there was a lady. She's started meditating, and after she got her brain scanned by an MRI scanner, and they did all the things and saw her brain, then 6 months later they checked it again, and there was actual physical difference in actually how her brain was operating, and she felt calmer and more creative. And taking people into that space, I've now been meditating for I think 6 years, and I do TM, so I do it with a mantra, but I often now start with a gratitude, a thank you, and I'm open to receiving whatever. And even today, just occasionally these little ideas that get dropped in. And when we were just talking just a second ago, I thought I could just imagine her doing workshops for people, guiding them with art and allowing them to actually fulfill their creative potential, and seeing that picture behind you. For those of you who don't see this video call, I'm looking at what can only be described as a painting, which has got so much incredible intensity to it. Around the outsides, we have a variety of different blues. Then we have these whites and turquoises, a little bit of green, yellows, a bit of grey, mauves, purples, and a little bit of maybe almost like a slight pink. And then in the centre, this whiteness, which then goes into the yellow. So it's an explosion of light and optimism and so much more. And yeah, I can see why people buy your art. It really is captivating. And now coming to your podcast, super exciting.
Yeah.
The people that you're interviewing, will there be some element of accountability that comes into that, to talking to them about how they're finding ways to be accountable to their healing journey or getting through things?
Of course. Yes, I mean, I think we're energetically drawn to the people that we need in our lives, right?
Absolutely.
So I found, because I had a podcast before with a partner, and that one kind of dissolved, but
I've got one of those too, don't worry. Pod fame.
I found that when you really start talking to people and you connect on this energetic level, you uncover these truths. And it's the people that are elevating that I want on my podcast, because that's not a coincidence, right? It's not a coincidence that your life has turned around from depression, wanting to die, to shifting, and now your focus is on educating people about the beauty of organ transplant and the necessity and the gift. That's not a coincidence, right? You had to do some work to get there. That's the people that I'm drawn to. And of course, I do like creatives, because I'm a creative. And I do believe that creativity, whether it be writing or music or art, is imperative. I share this story all the time. My husband, and everyone deals with grief in their own way. And me, I'm outgoing, I'm talking to people, I'm talking about it. He was quiet, And his mother was an avid knitter, and when she passed away, she had closets full of yarn. So all of his brothers and sisters got some yarn, and he got all this yarn, and it sat upstairs for a while. And after Brad died, I would catch Barry up in the rocking chair knitting. And then he started watching videos, he like I am educating myself on deeper art levels. He started watching videos and teaching himself fancy stitches.
Whoa.
and then he started teaching himself how to crochet. And
super impressed.
Beautiful. Like, he's knitted and crocheted these beautiful pieces.
Yeah.
And it's very healing and therapeutic for him.
Absolutely. Oh my, and the respect. I mean, seriously, I have a ball of wool and 2 needles behind my mirror over there. And I start off, I'm really positive, I'm going to get those first things over. And then something just always goes wrong. And so anyone who can actually do it, keep going, not forget the stitches, I got my respect. But it's what I find really fascinating is that for the people in the world who just will never get excited about the meditation thing, they're like, nah, that's not for me. Actually, walking meditation, doing something like knitting, which is a repetitive thing, doing art, that's almost sort of a meditation mindfulness, isn't it? And it's these ways of allowing the brain just to kind of do its own thing, to stop. I mean, I think great phones, but contactable by everyone, but notifications, phone calls, emails, this course, you've been recommended that, and now you've signed up for this, and then this is trying to get your attention. And it's only when we actually go, 20 minutes, it's all night time, or I lose my phone is the other one, that we actually have this chance to be open to receiving both this energetic, good energy, the healing energy, any messages or ideas or creative possibilities. And out of interest, how did you find this group that got together? Because that kind of seems...
So, not only do I love to create art, I also collect art. I would rather have a million prints, one rather than a million prints or, stuff from the chain stores that are very reasonably priced. I'd rather have one really original artwork. So I bought one of Jessica's original art pieces.
Oh, fabulous.
And that's how I met her. And then she started the Badass Art Tribe, and I joined that. And then, she's done some other things. And then she decided she was going to, publish this book. And I'm like, I'm in. Sign me up. And there's just a special energy with that group of creatives that I found, and I love it. So that's how I found her. And I've collected other people's artwork that I've formed a special bond with as well. So
brilliant.
I guess that's really how I met her. And then after I met her, I realized she had so many qualities that align with my qualities, that, like I said, we were energetically drawn together.
Fantastic.
And she's helping me grow my art business, like you mentioned, teaching different art things. That's on my bucket list. But again, I want to do all the things, right? And I have to remind myself that
juggling ball.
I just have to pick that top 20% and focus on that. And then later we can add some other things. So I do intend to create some courses to help people and whatnot, but there's only so many hours in the day.
Yes. Tell me about it. And in a world where, especially if you're a creative, I think it's very easy to be like, this idea and then this idea, and you occasionally just have to go, hang on, right, I'm just going to focus on this.
Yeah.
If things grow out of it, then that will come in the right time. But don't try and do it all in one go. And I mean, in terms of sort of maybe books that you've read that have helped you, does anything spring to mind that you think might help others?
So in addition to the two books that I mentioned,
1 and 2, just in the third one now.
The Four Agreements by Miguel Ruiz was a staple item for me for many, many years. I still have some. I have a gift closet, and now my books are in the gift closet to give out to people, but I had a lot of the Four Agreement books in the gift closet to give people. I've read many of Wayne Dyer's books. I mean, he has a plethora of books, and those are really, really inspirational. The Alchemist was a really good book. I'm trying to think what stands out to me. The Shack. I really loved the book, The Shack. That was really good.
Brilliant. And tell me about this gift closet. How does that work? Is it like...
Okay. So just to be totally transparent, when my kids were little, and I have 4, when they were little, they would come home and they'd say, So-and-so has a birthday party tonight and I have to go. And I'm like, oh my gosh, what? We got to go out and get something and then get to the party. And so I started a gift closet. So when they were little, I had random gifts in there that we could give people on the spur of the moment in my gift closet. And as they grew older, my gift closet expanded to, maybe wedding shower gifts or bridal shower gifts or baby shower gifts or and whatever. So I keep my gift closet
Yes.
full of gifts so that I'm never without a gift to give someone.
That's brilliant. That's so organized. What a top
I'm
tip.
not organized. That's why I have the gift closet.
But it gives the other indication though.
Yeah.
Well,
If I were organized, I would have, I know I have this event coming up and we have to have a gift. And no, I'm not. So I have the gift closet.
That's wonderful. I love that because there's actually certain books that I've read, and there's certain sort of like candle sets, or my sister's very into oracle card sets that you think, oh, these are so good, especially if they come up on sale and you're like, I should probably get 2 of those. But then actually to have a gift cupboard, then you'd have a little gift book when you write people's name next to it, and then you say what you gave them so you can give it to them twice. Oh, I'm loving this. This is top tips in organizing. Marie Kondo. Fabulous.
And that's the illusion, right? The illusion is, she's so organized. Well, in fact, that's why I have the gift closet, because I'm not.
That's brilliant. No, I think that's super. And in terms of sort of looking after yourself, just coming back around to this, what about food? What are your thoughts on food and eating and healing? How does that play out?
Okay, so you found my weak spot. All right, I'm just going to put that out there. I think raw fruits and vegetables and, proper meals and exercise, I believe that they are extremely important.
Mm-hmm.
But as I will confess, it's my weak spot. In fact, I do know that I am an emotional eater. And over the past 6 years, I've gained a tremendous amount of weight. And even last year, since Willie passed away, I've gained even more weight. So just recently, and I do believe that you asking that question is just really a confirmation that, yes, it's keeping it in the forefront on my mind. It's something that I need to, or I don't want to should myself or need myself. It's something that I'm going to be looking at more closely in my life to try and, infuse more healthy options into my diet, increase my activity level.
No, it makes perfect sense. And thank you so much for being so open about the emotional eating, because it's something I myself have struggled with for some time. I come from a family where I have parents at either end of the weight spectrum. It's like my mother is like a stick insect. My father has looked like someone who's enjoyed his life. And then me being his daughter, I've grown up being aware of the fact that the gene thing probably going downwards. I love food. I think food is one of the amazing blessings we have in this world. But when the going gets tough, it's what are you going to do? It's very reassuring to put into your mouth something that makes you feel good. And actually, one of the interviews that I've got coming up is with a lady who believes in mindful eating, which I do occasionally. But sometimes it just tastes so good.
Right.
But it's nice as well that you mentioned about the raw food thing, because I think, especially being in America, it must be hugely challenging in terms of what gets put into food. I mean, I lived in the States for 3 years, and it blew my mind how big things like strawberries were, and how unctuous everything was. And then I realized that so much of it was chemically enhanced. And I suppose it's one of those sort of things that one needs to be aware of, isn't it? Is actually part of the self-care and the self-love has to include being kind to yourself, that yes, when you want some reassurance, that you actually say, yes, I can have this or that or the other, but also that you care enough about yourself to say, or in my case, don't buy the digestive biscuits, or keep them at someone else's house and go and visit them. then eat three. So well, we have covered quite a lot, I would say, and I think that there is a path and there is a journey you are on, and in the next couple of years I would imagine that some of the things that you're writing in your pages will come to be, so to revisit and see where you are would be fantastic. Just to kind of round up what we've been talking about, you have been through incredible life challenges and experienced huge amounts of pain, and yet the person I see here today is someone who actually looks, I would say, hopeful, who carries an energy of positivity. And would it be correct in saying that for you, it has been the art and the creativity that has allowed you to find the self-love and the radical self-love, let's get it right, the radical self-love that you've needed to support you on this healing journey?
Yeah, I think that's a huge part of it, as well as meditation and, doing a lot of soul searching. And I think a little bit of surface work is included in that too. I mean, I wouldn't be here if I didn't have the capacity to serve and help others. So, I mean, the creativity is huge, but there's other components too.
Yes. It's a recipe, isn't it? Almost. It's part building blocks or foundations or part of a jigsaw, however you want to see it. There are definite kind of components to how you actually build your self-care toolbox to support you on your path.
I love that you use the word toolbox, because I use that all the time with people. I say, you just got to get some more tools in your toolbox.
Yeah.
That's all.
Totally. And in a world where, unfortunately, when going gets tough, people say, I need a medication, I need this, I need that. Actually, if you can find these self-care tools that actually are sort of natural and sort of ones that you can actually have and do yourself, and maybe a practitioner teaches you, but then in your own time you can embrace, I think is absolutely massive. And I've got this art course that I signed up for a year ago, and I've only just today got my desk for doing the art on. Now I have no excuse. So oh wow. And what I will do is I will, at the end of this, get all of the details, links for your books and for your podcast and your website. And that way people can find you and follow you and connect with you. And is there anything else you'd like to add?
I was going to tell you, I have a free, it's printable. It's an affirmation journal.
Oh, wow.
So I wrote 10 positive affirmations, and then we created this little journal that you can write about the affirmations on. So that is soulshine-sparkle.com.
Wow. Fantastic.
You can get your free affirmation journal. And it has some of my artwork in the background.
Yay! Magic. Oh, well, who can resist that? Brilliant. No excuse not to get it. Okie doke. Well, I will stop the recording.
Thank you for having me. Thank you so much. I feel like so much of our souls have connected here today, and I feel like you're a little kindred spirit, and I really admire what you're doing to, spread the word about organ donation and the importance of it. And you're a bright, shining light. So thank you for having me.
Well, thank you so much for your time. It really has been an absolute pleasure.
Yeah, for me too.
Excellent. Excellent. Let's end the recording.